Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I know that I have a bunch of people who are going to jump on and join, so I'm just going to give a minute for everyone to get on here, and I'm going to just talk about what we're going to do today. Right now I'm boiling some hot water, and also I just boiled my cauliflower just a little bit. I'm going to grab a big measuring cup while we're talking about it. Hold on one second, wait for me. All right, here we go. Someone's looking for me. Hi, can you hear me and see me? I have someone who just messaged me. I don't know if I'm live or not here. Let's see. Good. Hello. Oh, there you are. Okay, good. So I am live. I wasn't sure. Can you hear me okay? I'm trying it with the Bluetooth. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what all we're going to do. Yay, you can hear me. Okay. So right now I have, I'll just give you a little tour of everything I'm doing. Thank you. Yay, you can hear me. Okay, good. So check all this out. These are all different seasonings we're going to be using. We've got a bunch of different jars. Here I've got a little bit of cauliflower that I boiled just a little bit. We're going to do some dilly beans. We're going to do a lot of different types of fermenting today. And we're going to talk about all the different ways you can ferment. But this is going to be so fun. And then at the end, I've got all kinds of yummy food. So I'm going to have to move the camera around a little bit, so bear with me. Oh no, it fell off. Ah! Let's see. Okay. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to do my salt mixture. So we're going to start with getting our salt here. And what we do, hey everybody. All right, let me get my teaspoons here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do half a tablespoon for every cup of hot water. So that's how you're gonna make your brine, okay? So I'm just gonna start with my brine and we're gonna go over it again because I know I had a couple people telling me that they were a little bit late. So we're gonna start with the brine. We're gonna continue on here. So we're gonna do half a teaspoon. We're gonna do 4 cups, which is what I have here. So I'll do 2 tablespoons. And you don't want it too salty. A lot of people are doing, hello. A lot of people who ferment do it in different ways. You can do it with whey, which is another way. We try to stay away from dairy, so we don't do the whey. But you can do a ferment with whey protein. It's called lacto fermenting. And that's an interesting way too. It tastes different. It's a little bit milky. And I don't really like that very much, so that's why I don't do that. We've got our hot water here. And as you can see, I've got a big measuring cup here. We had 2 full tablespoons to 4 cups. And that's how we're gonna make our brine. We're gonna let that sit. Sorry to walk away from you here. I had almost everything I needed except for the brine, of course. The time gets away from you and I'm kicking everybody out of the house so that I can get my thing going here. All right, so it's super easy. So if you've got your cans out, what I do, jars or cans, so that's another thing is there's a difference, actually that brings me to a point. There's a difference between canning and jarring and fermenting. So I have people say, oh yeah, I can, but there's a difference. You can use vinegar. Everyone asks me, do you just use vinegar? No. The difference is the salt actually helps you ferment it. If you want to eat something pickled right away, I think it's 1 tablespoon of salt to every 1 tablespoon of sugar to 1 of every salt. So basically, you're gonna put salt and sugar, and then you boil it, and then you freeze it, and then you've got instant pickles. But that's not what we're doing today. We're fermenting our food, and that's gonna actually release the bacteria in it. Sounds gross, but it's fabulous for gut health. If you've ever watched any videos on Dr. Gundry, he talks about gut health and how you have like a forest of good bacteria in your belly. And when you take antibiotics, even just once, it wipes out all the good flora and it can take up to 2 years to get it back. So it's rebuilding the gut flora. So that's what we're gonna do now. So let's say I'm gonna start with the onions because I think that I had a lot of people ask about those. These are raw. And I'm gonna take my jar and I'm gonna put my seasoning in the bottom and I'm gonna put it on top. And what you're gonna do is once you get your everything all in here jammed down, you're gonna put a weight on top of it because you wanna weight it down. Otherwise it can float to the surface if you don't have enough water and it gets moldy. And that's a bummer because a lot of work for nothing. So I have coriander, peppercorns, a little bit of clove, a tiny bit of pepper, because I'm really trying to stay away from nightshades, but this was a pickling mix that I bought pre-made. So I'm gonna use a little bit of that because I do like it spicy. And I'm gonna put fennel because I love fennel. So I'm doing probably like half a teaspoon of fennel in the bottom. And then I'm gonna put a little oregano, and I always crush it up first. And then a pinch of celery salt. It's a lot. You can make your own, whatever you like. And then I'm gonna just it's the best way to do beans and the onions are to lay it on the side so you can really pack them in there because you want as many as you can in here. This is one large red onion. You can do it with other colors, but I have to tell you, the red onion is my fave. And probably a couple years ago, I was making these and cottage food selling them, and I would sell out the red onions, and then I still have people that talk about those red onions. So if these come out delicious, I promise I'll start making some as gifts, okay? So we're just gonna fill this baby up. We're almost completely full, and as you can see, I still have some, you can't see, just kidding. As you can see, I still have a lot of onions left. So with these, they're jammed in. I actually chose the small short jars this time, just for something different, but you can use whatever you want. Yes, they were yummy. I think, did you eat any of those, Tara? You were like one of my faves. Okay, so see the bottom here? Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna smash a bunch of garlic, and you have to smash it to get the flavors going. And I'm gonna put it right in here. So, there is a element in garlic. Of course, I can't remember the name of it right now, but it is the major health benefit of garlic, and it does not get released in the garlic unless you smash it or cut it up. So smash your garlic, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I smashed it up. This is a big one. I love them, really, really flavorful. See, I'm gonna just jam it down the side here. And I'm gonna do 3 more of those because I like mine super duper garlicky and it tastes so good. So we're just gonna go kind of garlic crazy in these. So we have, just to recap, because we have some new people jumping on here, we're working on our red onions. We put the seasonings in the bottom. We put our raw onions right in, and now we're smashing up our garlic so that it releases all those yummy flavors, and we're gonna put it directly in our little onion thing here, okay? So these are gonna be our red onions. I'm just gonna do 1 jar of each, and if you're not catching it from the beginning, you can always replay it. I always save them, and I put them on my YouTube channel, which is mycrunchylife.com, and it's crunchy with an I-E. That also happens to be my same podcast on iTunes and Spotify and Podbean and Instagram. So if you're looking for me, and that's my website. So if you're looking for me, now you can find me. All right, so check this out. See all of this yummy garlic and onions in here? We made our brine. Hi, everybody. Thanks for jumping on. Our brine was 1 tablespoon of pink Himalayan salt to every cup of hot boiling water. So we did 2 tablespoons of pink Himalayan salt and 4 cups of water here. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna fill it up to the top. Now, normally you need to weight these down. However, the onions are so packed in there, we're gonna be just fine. So you wanna go all the way up. You need to leave an inch or half an inch. I don't know, I don't wanna tip this over. Because what happens is it's gonna fizz and bubble because it's gonna ferment. You have to burp this baby. Yep, I said that. Every day, I know it's a lot of work, but it's worth it, I promise. So every day you're gonna turn it, and you're gonna just open it to let out some of the gases. You're gonna see bubbles, you're gonna see it get a little cloudy. That's completely normal. If you open it up and there's fungus on the top, you lost your little fermenting here. So we're gonna put the seasoning on the top. Again, I'm putting another teaspoon of fennel, my little pickling mix here, but you can also use like a steak seasoning mix if you want. I put oregano because it tastes delish, and a teeny bit of celery salt. Now the red onion is done. Super easy, check it out. It's a little bit warm to touch. Okay, so then every day I'm gonna stir this up. All right, next we're gonna do dilly beans, because those are fabulous. And actually you can put some dill in your onions. I might actually do that. Let me add some dill to this baby, because I love the dill in everything. And it's just in season, so I started finding it everywhere, which was really lucky. Hey Amy, because I promised everybody dilly beans. So I'm gonna shove this dill in there and make sure it's completely covered all the way down. Okay, because the dill just adds such a fresh, yummy flavor. And I have to add a little bit of water. So look, you can see my dill's on top. And these look so pretty too. I would say leave them out, but they're supposed to be in a nice dark area. The onions you only need to leave in a nice room temp, cooler area, especially in Florida, for about 5 days. Things like the dilly beans and things that are a little bit thicker, you're gonna want 7 days for them to ferment. All right, now we're moving on to, I also have cucumbers, but we're gonna move on to the dilly beans because this seemed to be everybody's favorite. So we're gonna go back into our garlic again. This time we're gonna really go garlic crepe. The dilly beans are all about spicy and garlicky. So you want maybe 4 or 5 big garlics on the bottom on this one. And the reason that we're not shoving these down the side is because the green beans take up a lot of room, and we wanna make sure we have plenty of room to get all the green beans in there. And you can cut these depending on the size of your jar. I suggest cutting them maybe, in 2 inches, or maybe you can leave them a little bit longer, but if you leave them too big, then they're just hard to eat, but they're more fun. So look, here we go. Tons of garlic, all smashed up. Make sure it's really pressed down and agitated and chopped. And then the garlic, the green beans, okay, you can either snap them or you can cut them. I didn't pre-cut all of mine. And you're gonna lay this on the side and just start adding them, okay? I'm gonna do a lot of fennel in this one, and I'm gonna add my dill as I'm adding my green beans. So I'm gonna add these green beans in here, and then I'm gonna do a nice layer of dill right alongside them. And then I'm gonna keep adding the green beans, because you really want that flavor in there. They're dilly beans, so you want a lot of dill. Whereas our other one, we didn't have as much dill. Yes, the recipe is super easy. Yes, yay, you liked them. The dilly beans were so fun. So a lot of garlic. You've got your brine. Again, the brine, for anyone who just jumped on, the brine is half a tablespoon for every cup of boiling water, and that's your brine. It won't make it too salty, and it won't make it too watered down. I've made them before and made the mistake of not putting enough salt in there, and then it just tastes like watery weirdness. So if you ever bought one of those, I'm sorry. If you ever bought one of my cottage food watery weirdness. So now look, see, we laid it on the side, a couple of them fell down back there, but now we're gonna add a bunch of dill, okay? And we're gonna add more seasoning too. So this time I'm putting a big fat bunch of dill, and that's gonna be the last bit of dill I put in there. But we're really gonna press it down and work it down. And now I'm gonna add some more oregano and more celery salt. And I actually brought over here, excuse me, I'm gonna step away for 1 second, red chili peppers for this one. Normally I either put fresh jalapenos, but sometimes they're hard to find organic, and I really suggest only organic everything anyway. So see that? I put a nice chunk in there. And as these ferment, they get this nice crispy, like fizzy bite to them, which is so good. It's kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of okra. When they're pickled, if you've ever had pickled okra that are spicy, it's so good. They kind of give that like fizzly, is that a word? Fizzly taste in your mouth. All right, so we're almost full with these. Do I have anybody who's following along and doing their recipe too? I try to warn everybody about what we're gonna do. Also, let me know if you're, I know you guys are on the live, but later on, let me know if you're watching the replay or if you're watching the live. Okay, so here we go. I've jammed these babies in here as much as I could. These are gonna be so delicious. If they weren't spicy, I could probably get everyone in the house to eat them. I'll have to make some that aren't spicy. But I'm the only spicy person in the house. Not personality-wise, but taste-wise. Everyone in my house is spicy, personality-wise. Okay, so here we go. So check that out. Those are jammed in there really nice. And you wanna make sure you keep them away from the top. Now again, we don't have to weight these down because they're so jammed in there. Now we're gonna put our brine in a minute, but I like to add something fun in here, like a little bit of cauliflower. I boiled these cauliflowers in advance because it's kind of fun. It's like a little treasure you find in here. So sometimes I do, yay, Allison's doing hers too. So sometimes I boil carrots for this one, but today I did cauliflower. And these are raw, but I'm gonna put some super thin radishes in here because those are fun too. If you've ever had pickled radish, I usually put them in the onion, but not today. These are so good. All right, so here we go. Look, so this is gonna be so pretty. You can even use them for decoration when you're done. Okay, good, so we've got our nice flavor in here. We have all our dill and we've got all of our garlic, and I've got a little bit of extra onion, so I'm gonna add that in here too. You can just decorate your table with them. I like to have little tasting parties too, that's fun. Okay, so now we've got all this yummy flavor in here, and we're gonna add the brine. Remember, we wanna keep it at least half an inch away from the top so that it has room to grow and bubble and boil and all that. What am I using to weight down the onions? You can use another can if you want to. You can just press it down with your hand and hold it down for a minute. You can put a bag of water. Honestly, there's the things that I think you need to be most worried about are, there's a recipe that I do that's like matchstick. I make every vegetable, so it's kind of like a mixed veggie sauerkraut, which is super yummy, but all those little pieces float up. So the idea is that you're smushing them down so they're really, really heavy, and then, you know, they don't float up to the top and get all fungusy. But with the dilly beans and the onions, you should be able to really pack them in enough that they're not gonna float away. So look, now we've got our onions and we have our dilly beans. Next, we're gonna do cucumbers, and those are so fun. I think, oh, I've got a little bit of fennel, but I'm gonna focus on the dill. Obviously, I love fennel, but if you're not a big fennel fan, you don't have to use fennel at all if you don't want to. But it definitely gives that authentic pickling flavor, and that's what you want. You want a nice, rich, flavorful, pickled, fermented, you know, little treat here. And if you don't put enough seasoning, it won't taste good. So you really want to have a lot of flavor in there. So just don't be scared to put too much. It's better to have too much than not at all, because then it's just bland. Okay, so now I did these super thin little cucumbers, and I've got my radishes. And sometimes it's fun to chop them up so they're really, really fine. And a lot of times I'll just do like the end jar. Like, I've got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You can call it the kitchen sink if you want to. I have some beets. Now, I didn't do anything with these beets yet, but later on I would do the beets where I would boil them a little bit, and those would be matchstick. And those are really good with a lot of fennel. Now, some people even ferment honey, and I know that sounds crazy, but this is really interesting. So honey can be preserved forever. I think they found 100-year, 200-year-old honey that is still good. The only way that honey can start to go bad is if you introduce water and it's fermenting. It needs, I think it's 16% water, and you let it sit and actually ferment. So you can ferment the honey, and it makes it even more bioavailable and nutrition rich, and, you know, good for gut health. And you can do that with onions, which is really good. There's a recipe that I'll share on my link later that is, I believe it's sage, honey, and onions, and that's it. And you ferment it in the pantry, and that one you can ferment up to a month, but it only takes a couple days to do. After that, if you want things to stop fermenting, you have to put them in the fridge. It slows it down. Otherwise, they can start to get real funky. So that's why I'm telling you the date on to skip back to the onions and the dilly beans. So 5 days for the onions, 7 days, but no more than a month. You can leave them for up to a month, but you still need to agitate them and move them around and burp them every day. Okay, so let's move on to our cucumbers. Cucumbers, I'm gonna put a lot of celery salt in them because I love the way the celery salt tastes, and it really helps with that dill flavor. Of course, I'm gonna add my fennel, but I'm not gonna do my little peppercorn mix this time. I'm not gonna do that. So that's all I'm gonna do with this, and I'm gonna do some dill. So I'm gonna do a lot of dill in this one, and this one is really yummy, yummy, yummy. And you know, you've got that authentic dill flavor. Now, probably most of the pickles that you've purchased at the store are the kind that they put sugar in. even if it's, you know, a lot of the dill or obviously the sweet pickles, that's the kind that you boil your sugar and your water and your salt together, and then you pour it over the pickles. It kind of boils the pickles, and then you have the regular pickle. But like I said, this is fermenting. This is different. It's gonna really help bring out that good bacteria, and it's gonna help heal the belly and the gut. And you know, if you've ever had antibiotics, if you've eaten conventional meat, there's antibiotics in our conventional meat. And unfortunately, most of the time, used to be. It's not like it was before. I think it's illegal now. But before, and that was just recently. So, I mean, it's still swimming around in our bodies, but it eats up your gut flora and you don't even know it. So all these people are dealing with leaky gut issues. You're having food sensitivities or extra allergies to the pollen and you don't know why. And it's because you had all this leaky gut issue you didn't even know about. All of this conventional meat, once upon a time, had all of these antibiotics in it. So here we are eating delicious food to heal the leaky gut. So we've got in our pickling jar, we've had tons of different seasonings. And if you're just logging on now, I'm gonna save the video so you'll be able to watch it from the beginning. But we have celery salt, fennel, and fresh organic dill. Even my seasonings are organic. You really wanna try to, you know, choose organic when you can. So we're gonna put our nice thinly sliced cucumbers in here. And this one is the type that you would want to, this fermenting is the kind we're gonna wanna weigh down. So you can put boiled stone on top of it. I know that sounds crazy if you have big rocks, but the reason we weigh it down is because air bubbles get trapped in our veggies and it's gonna float up to the top. And if we don't have them really pressed down, when we add the water, they'll just float to the top and they can get some mold. So we're gonna try to focus on keeping that nice and smushed down there. Unlike the onions that we had onions and dilly beans that we really smushed in there so they weren't floating around. So if you wanna watch this video later and follow along with me, I'm gonna tell you what you want. You pick whatever fermenting you wanna do. You can pick anything, carrots, cauliflower. With this one, I'm gonna add some cauliflower bits. I actually boiled those earlier so that they were a bit softer because they're harder to ferment. So I've got these, they're still a little steamy, and I'm gonna add them to my pickles because it's gonna add a little bit of a sulfur vegetable. And did you know that sulfur vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, really help to detox the body? So if you're having an issue with digestion or acne issues or any type of, you know, issues where your belly is just, you're not digesting properly, or your skin's having an issue, or your liver's having an issue, then adding sulfur vegetables is gonna be huge for you. And you can use my girlfriend Tara actually uses the cauliflower in smoothies because the frozen cauliflower, and you can't even taste it, and it's delicious, and it's really a wonderful way to hide them from your kids. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna leave some room on the top here. I'm gonna add a couple little radishes because I like how it looks to have extra color in there. So see, I've got the radishes, I've got a little cauliflower, I've got my cucumbers, all my dill, and it's better to be, you know, a lot more generous with your flavors than to have a bland little veggie here. Okay, so now look, we've got all this pretty pink and green and white, and now again, we're gonna use our brine, which is half a tablespoon for each cup. And we're just gonna pour it right in. We wanna leave at least half an inch of room at the top because it's gonna bubble and boil and all of that fun stuff. And I'm gonna add fennel on the top and a little celery salt on the top. We're gonna just turn this and shake it every day to get all the flavors together. And then I'm gonna put the lid on here. And there is a little glue on the top that actually helps create that seal. Hey, girl. So look, so now we've got our third little guy here. And these are super easy, right? It's just making the brine can be a little confusing, but I don't use the salt. Like I said, I don't use, the vinegar or the sugar. We stick strictly to salt, and that really helps break it down. You just need, for that one, the cauliflower is already slightly boiled, so you don't need a long time for those cucumbers. 5 days is gonna be enough. You can leave it for up to a month and then put it in the fridge. All right, so I'm gonna do my little kitchen sink jar now. So I have a little bit of dilly beans left, green beans, I have a little bit of radishes, a little bit of cucumber, a little bit of red onion, and we're gonna save the beets for another day, but we're gonna do a kitchen sink right now. We're just gonna put a little bit of everything in there. So I'm gonna just chop it all up like a matchstick. So it just makes it so it's nice and easy, and it's like one of those things you can add to a salad. So check it out. So here, this is just gonna be nice and thin. These aren't quite matchstick, but they're nice and thin. And we're just gonna chop everything up so it's really small. And that's fun. It's kind of like a super veggie coleslaw. And that one you don't need to leave super long either, unless you put something hard in there. But we're gonna do that. I'm gonna chop up my red onions a little bit more, and I'll show you what that looks like at the end. I know some of you are following along here, and that's so much fun. But if you wanna come back and do my little recipe with me later, I'm gonna save it. Thank you for jumping on, everybody. Hi, it's so good to see you. Hello, everyone. Hello. All right, so now we're gonna do our fermenting. Check this out. So we've got our cucumbers, we have onions and radishes. We did our pickles, which we added some fun little treasures. We did our red onion with the dill. And here we've got our dilly beans, and we added super spicy to those. Okay, so the more flavor the better. Do not be afraid to add too much seasoning in there. As I keep saying, it's a lot better to have more than not enough. I've made it once where I thought I put too much and it was bland, and then that was the end of that. So this is great because all this fermented food, you can actually add it to a salad. You can put it on top of, you can put it on top of a burger, a turkey burger. There's so much cool stuff you can do with little fermented foods, and they just add so much flavor to things. And a lot of times you don't even think about it. I'll add it to like a stir fry at the top, and it just makes it look extra fancy, and it also tastes delicious. So the green beans, I'm gonna just mince them up. I'm gonna make them look small. And look, I'm just gonna show you everything I'm doing here. So look, this looks like a little plate of crazy, right? Well, it's gonna taste delicious. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna put it's kind of like a steak seasoning, you know, with the coriander, the kind of stuff you put on the grill. We're gonna do a lot of fennel in this baby. Can you see all that? That's probably a full tablespoon. I wanna make this one a little spicy, so again, I'm gonna put my red pepper flakes in here. And I put a lot, oopsie daisies. And what else is really good, sorry, excuse me for a second. We're gonna do our celery salt. I'm gonna put oregano, which is really good for sauerkraut, if you make sauerkraut. And since this is kind of like a sauerkraut flavor, we're gonna put a lot of oregano, a little bit of celery salt. And let me tell you, this one I'm gonna add cloves. I haven't done that to any of the other flavors, but it's really nice when you do a sauerkraut, and that's kind of what this is gonna be. So don't put too many and don't go too crazy, but so you can see that I did not go easy on the seasoning here, right? There's a lot in there. Now we're gonna smash up our garlic cloves. I'm probably gonna put 5 big fat garlic cloves in here. And remember to smash them up good so that the flavors really enhance and you can taste them. My daughter was really jealous. She wanted to be on this live today. So I promised her we're gonna do one for her after. She's all about information. She's always watching YouTube tutorials, and we play YouTube tutorial all the time. So you might see another one later where she's gonna do her own canning. All right, so we've got our 5, well, let's do 2 more. We're gonna have 5 altogether, garlic cloves. And this stuff is so great. Like I said, it's important to heal your gut. It's important to eat foods with a purpose. And I say that to people all the time. You know, it's great that food tastes good, and that's really, you know, a lot of people's pastime. It's fun, don't get me wrong, I'm a total foodie. But you need to find a purpose. There's health benefits in most good, healthy foods. So try to eat with a purpose. You know, there's like daikon radish. I was actually gonna put some of those in here, but daikon radish was used in macrobiotics because it's known to, don't quote me, I'm not a doctor. There's my disclaimer. I'm gonna put dill in here. It's known to help break up tumors. So people that are, you know, are dealing with cystic issues, daikon radishes that are ground, you know, grated up, it's easier to digest, and it's awesome for you. I mean, just every little food really has a purpose, and it's amazing. It's amazing to know. If you're having issues with metal toxicity, I found out that avocado is one of the things you should stay away from, which I thought was really interesting. I learned that this week. I didn't realize how much copper they had in there. And guess what? I have high coppers, and guess what else? I eat a lot of avocado. And one of those things that is women that are dealing with postpartum are known to have extremely high copper levels. So vitamin C will help balance that out. Taking a lot of vitamin C helps. Selenium helps to detox the liver. All of these things, Brazil nuts have selenium. All these things are important to really add to, eat with a purpose. Okay, here we go. So this one is not very full. Do you see this? Now all these little elements are gonna float to the top. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a bowl and I'm squishing it down. I've got a little baby bowl in here and I'm gonna squish this down, squish it down. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Probably gonna have to be dilly beans. Oh, I've got one radish left. So I'm just gonna give only a little bit of room at the top, but you don't want enough room for it to float around. All right, so the radishes are what we're gonna just finish it off with, and I absolutely love pickled radishes. If you haven't had them before, and I've never seen them in the store, so if you haven't had them before or you haven't bought them at one of my little cottage food deals that I did, then you are gonna be in for a really nice surprise. And when you use the different rainbow kinds, it's so pretty in there too. Like I said, you can, after the 5 days of being in all the onion and garlic making my nose run. Okay, so here we go. Now I'm gonna smush it down with the bowl. And you can, like I said, you can use a boiled stone and you really wanna get it, just press it down there. Now I'm gonna add just a little bit of celery salt to the top and some fennel because I want my flavors to really, really get in the top and the bottom. And the celery salt is really intense for anything else. I don't know if you've ever cooked with celery salt, but it's intense. But if you add it to the pickling, it's like perfect, and it kind of cuts down on the pungency of the flavor, but it just adds such a nice depth of flavors here. Okay, so here we go. I'm using a little bit of the last of my brine. You saw how many I got out of this four cups. Okay, here we go. Now check it out. I am an inch away from the top on this one. They're not floating like crazy. I can't really, turn the jar to show you. But here we go. So now we're all done with our flavors. Check it out. So what do we have here? Oh, you know what I can add? Got a little bit of cauliflower. Let's see if I can shove it in there. We don't want to waste it. If you've got it, throw it in there. And then we're going to have to add a little water because now it's floating to the top. But don't waste it. The pickled cauliflower is, oh my gosh, so good. I actually was putting them in like little treasures the last time I made them, and I started to get requests just for the cauliflower alone. And once you taste it, you'll see why. Okay, here we go. Hope that doesn't get moldy. All right, so what we do, shake it up. Every day, you're gonna open it, let some of the gases out. This guy, I'm gonna leave 5 to 7 days. So you can always kind of taste test too. So open it up, look at it, agitate it, taste it. If it doesn't taste pickled enough, leave it a little bit longer. All right, so here we do, Scooby-Doo. So this is our sauerkraut. It's our kitchen sink sauerkraut. We've got our dilly bean pickles with a little bit of radish and cauliflower. We've got our red onion, super garlicky red onions. And then we've got our spicy, spicy dilly beans. Look how pretty those are. Can you see that? Isn't that pretty? It's so much fun too. All right, well, does anybody have any questions while I'm still here with all the pickling stuff? You want me to add anything, or how are you doing? I know I have a couple people that are following along and doing their pickling too. By pickling, I mean not pickling, I mean fermenting. So let me know if I don't catch you on the video because there's a lag, then you just send me a message. But we're gonna do some other stuff next. So I was thinking we're gonna do some funky fermenting next. Maybe we'll do our fermented honey and onions. Let me know what you're interested in and we'll try something else. Maybe we'll even try some lacto fermenting, which is with the dairy. All right, guys, I saw that okay, I see a couple questions. Just send me a message, and it was such a pleasure. Hi. Yes, thank you so much for watching along, and I had so much fun. And please let me know how your stuff comes out. I can't wait to hear. And maybe I'll even do a live unboxing when it's actually time and we can taste it together. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. This was so much fun. Happy weekend, and I hope you have a great day.